Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today will be part 3 of how to play Dragonlords of Aurith, the board game. Part 1, if you have watched it, was basically just setting up the board, getting ready to start play. Part 2 was all about the components that are in the game. And even though it was a long video, it's still because it's such a large game, it is not a real in-depth view of the pieces, but tried to show as much as I really could. And then today, part 3, we will actually be starting the very first turn. I'm going to try and not make this video as long as the last one was. So whether or not I just go through turn 1 or if I actually go into turn 2, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Because I will go slow so I can explain everything as I'm going along. And since in the game itself, players will have so many choices that they can make, I'm going to base my choices in the beginning of what to do based on things I have not shown you in the game. So the first few turns may very well be different actions that you can do, and some of the fighting and engaging with the evil dragons that you're trying to protect the kingdom from. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the board as it had been set up in part 1. And of course, all the pieces laid out on the table. Dice for the red player will be Alexander. And if you see up here, one of the few things I did not go over, because there was a couple of things I did miss, is that these are basically just tokens for mana. Even though Alexander doesn't start with spells, we generally do put them on the cards. And then the green player will be Delilah, which she starts with the 4 mana. So put 4 1-mana tokens on there, and they are double-sided. On the opposite side, there's 3. So you could actually have 1/1 and 1/3, but when you don't have much mana, as much as you'll go through spells with the casters, it's easier in the beginning to start out with a bunch of 1s. And then we do have a marker for 5, and if that flipped over, it is a marker for 10 mana. Because later in this game, you can acquire more max mana. So those are just there, available. Even in the single playthrough game, you can get above 10 with the right equipment and feats. And also the other thing, where my last video went over the cards, and this is one of the reference cards, where the old one, the revenue phase, was first, and the way it should be is the event phase should be first, followed by the revenue phase. It's been cleared up. I got some threw in some dividers. They're kind of light, so I'll probably darken them up or slightly change the tone of that background. And I made it more clarified here in the revenue phase. of what you gain. Because in the revenue phase, you'll gain both gold and fame from whatever will give you that as production. But if you take in the action phase, if you take a tax action, you will not gain the fame because people are unhappy. So you're only going to gain the gold when you take the tax action. That's why in the revenue phase, it does state both gold and fame. And then in the on the reference card for the types of actions, it will be more clearly defined in there that you only get the gold. So just wanted to clarify that up for those who might have seen the last video. And then we start, we'll do this so you can see it better. Set up the tracker counter for turn 1, which means everyone's tier 1. And got the cards. These are the starter decks right here. That's Delilah's. That's Alexander's. Nothing in the backpacks. They don't start. Oh. Okay, sorry about that. One thing I did forget to do, silly me, is that all the characters actually have some kind of starting item. The casters usually have a spell. And Delilah, because she's an arcane caster, she gets Lightning Bolt or Arcane Bolt. And that's the spell. They get it basically free of charge because you do not start out with any money. And then Alexander, since he is the tank, he starts out with a buckler. Because his shields are what he actually specializes in his abilities. So, we will start turn 1, which means it's the event phase. So since it's turn 1, a odd numbered turn, you will go to the Blessing of the Gods deck and turn it over. And then all heroes add 1 white die to all attack pools. So you'll see how that works here on the very first turn. Now that card will stay into play for this turn. Turn 2, I'll be drawing from the Darkest Hour deck. And then that card will stay into effect until I draw another Darkest Hour card. Therefore, turn 2, while you have a Darkest Hour card come into play and affect the evil dragons, giving them a bonus of some kind, the Blessing of the Gods card that was drawn on turn 1 is still effective in turn 2. Turn 3, when we draw another Blessing of the Gods card, that will then replace the one you had drawn on the previous turn. For the players, now these cards will be changing their format to be like the Darkest Hour cards here, where it's a vertical instead of horizontal. And then the back will change to this format, where the old style, we would be, it's hard to get that in focus. The cards are actually more readable than what they look like here on the video. But the old style was that you drew, whenever you had one more, this top effect would actually be on 1 Darkest Hour card. Usually 2 abilities that affects the evil dragons, unless it had a really powerful one, which it would only be 1. And then this middle part would actually be on the next card, because when there are 2 or 3 settlements that are on fire or that have been burned, you actually draw, you used to draw 2 cards per turn, and both effects would be in play. Okay? But even though some of the Darkest Hour cards are set up with the new format, we are still going to be playing them the old way and only using the top section, therefore drawing multiple cards for this playthrough. So when the players, as they play the game, and their objective in a 2-player game is between the 2 players, they need to build 2 more capital hexes. For each player, or each hero that is being played in the game, you have to build 1 additional capital hex to win the game. But you must also build. Now, the capital hexes can be built by any player, but these improvements have to be built by each player. So they need to build, you need to each build 1 monument and 1 church for each player. Now, the last thing you have to do to win the game is to build a diplomat. And when you build a diplomat, they start in your hometown. So for green player, when he builds his diplomat, he would start him there. But in order to win, the diplomats must be in the capital. And each player must build 1 diplomat and have them in the capital all at the same time. So this is a win condition for a 2-player game. Now, the improvements are considered to be part of the capital. So diplomats can be in any part of the capital. They can be like that. They can be like that. They can be both on the same hex. You're not limited to how many individuals are on a hex or how many diplomats are on a hex. But that is the win condition of basically the single playthrough. So that is the object of this game when you're not playing a campaign game. When you're playing a campaign game, you're playing basically as long as you really want, unless the capital is destroyed. Because if you didn't play it that way, people would have no reason to worry about protecting the capital. They would probably only protect their hometowns. So keeping that mechanic in the game is important. Also, the campaign game, what is added to the game besides all the tier 3 cards and abilities, is that there'll be a separate mini tracker, which is where these little dragon heads at the bottom of the Darkest Hour cards come in. There's a tracker that keeps track of how many you accumulate. And when you get to a certain point, that's when that will basically open up what is called the void, and a single ancient dragon will come out. There are 5 ancient dragons, and when you start the game, you have no idea which ancient dragon is in the void. And with there being 5 ancient dragons, there's 1 ancient dragon of each color. And they basically take up the same area as a swarm, but it's one single dragon that takes up this entire area. And it will spawn on one of the spawn hexes, and it can hang off of the board as long as the ancient dragon is on one of the hexes. It's a legal placement for the ancient dragon. And then there's a separate deck for the ancient dragon for its AI, since it's different than all others. So the dragon action deck does not affect the ancient dragon in the campaign game. But we're not doing the campaign game here, but I thought I'd bring that up anyway. But this is the single playthrough, as it's called right now. So the first thing we do is we flipped over the Blessing of the Gods card. And all that does is give the players one extra white die to add to all their attack pools. So then we move on to the revenue phase. Okay, so one other thing to bring up. There is two types of resources in this game. One is basically just gold. And these are tokens that I made. I had a, get back here. I had a artist make up the designs for them. I gave him a basic idea. They are just double-sided. So basically, this is the gold currency. Different denominations, they're all double-sided. Okay, these here and that one there are the old, where they were one denomination one side, another the other. But I found out it's easier to keep them just double-sided with the same denomination. And right now, they go up to 1,500 gold for a single coin. But I do have ones that actually go to 1,000. I mean, 5,000. If I needed to put them in. But these are just the current ones in the game. And then the other resource is fame. A way of keeping track of your money and your fame. One side of the small one is 1. The other side is 3. And then the other token is 10 fame on one side, followed by 25 on the other. So right now, even though in our playtests normally that I do with other people, I just let them write it down on scrap pieces of paper to keep track of their fame and their gold, because until the game gets more flushed out, when we're closer to the end of really playtesting with them, that's when I'll actually have them use all of these. It saves a lot of time right now. It's a little bit easier for them with the paper. And of course, players could do the same thing, but these will be in the game. And then in the final testing, we'll be figuring out how many of each denomination, which will be based off of the max 5 players, because they will need more of the coinage than like a 2 or 3 player game. So this is basically all the bank. Put that off to the side for now. So then we are going to the revenue phase. So you're going to collect your production, which at this point here, all that players have are a single town each. No other uh, improvements or any settlements they have built, because this is, of course, turn 1. So they haven't even gotten to the first chance to do yet. So on this reference card, because that's how the rules are set out right now, no sense of making a rule book if rules constantly change. Rule book is hard enough to make than continuously changing rules. So you just reference this. Each town hex, which they each have 1 town hex, earns them 20 gold. Very basic. And 1 fame. So they will each gain the 20 gold and 1 fame. And that is the revenue phase for the first turn. Then you drop to the action phase. Action phase is where each player gets to take 3 actions. Generally, everybody at the table can take their actions at the same time. If there is a issue, like where 2 people want to go to a market, to do some shopping, and let's say 2 people want to go and they're basically shopping for town items because they don't have much money. If there ever is a issue, it is built into the game rules that if the players can't decide between themselves who basically draws first, then you default to the system in the game where the first player has priority, and then it goes around the table clockwise. And you just follow that priority anytime. But with all the playtesting I've done, even with my small group of testers, I've never had a issue where one person was like, oh, I'm going to do my shopping first, because nobody knows what they're going to draw on the deck next anyway. So you have the list of actions. I'm not sure how updated this is. I believe this is the most recent updated card. And then you have the move, where you can take a move action, and then fighting and taming, which the majority of the time, only when you're taming do you have to declare it as an action. You can still fight without having to take the action to fight. And you'll see how that works out. But it does take an action to tame. And if you're fighting multiple dragons, which you can only tame young dragons, once they grow, they're too wild. You have to tame them when they're young. But if there's 2 young dragons or even 3, you can tame all 3 or just 2 if you have the actions. Each one is a separate action. Okay? And then there's the market action, where you can go shopping for your items, or you can go shopping for spells. There's the rest action for trying to regain your stamina. Okay. And then there's the channel action, where you can channel. You don't have to be in a town or settlement to channel. You can channel it anywhere, which is a default of 1 white dice plus any bonuses. And then being in the town, having churches, all increases your bonuses. Okay? And you can cast a spell. You can cast any number of spells with 1 action. So this is the 1 action that, even though you could take it multiple times, it's a waste of actions, because 1 action you can cast any number of spells. You can cast the same spell over and over again, as long as you have the mana. Okay. Now, if you cast spells and then run out of mana, and then you take a channel action, and you wanted to cast more spells, you would have to take another action because you are casting spells after you took a channel action. So, but normally you're only doing that once. And then there's the equip. Equipping is a action. That means whatever you may have in your backpack, you can equip on your character. Let's say this shield just happened to be in his backpack, or any number of items, including scrolls that have spells on them. Okay, you take a equip action, then you equip them all, following the limits of how many of each item, type of item you can have. Okay, you cannot go over your limit of your backpack. There are other backpacks that are bigger that you can acquire in items throughout the game. Because 4 later on could put you in a situation where you might be acquiring items. Maybe a number of people want to send items to you. Because this is a cooperative game, so you're helping each other out. The players have realized, especially over time, that helping each other out, you may not be lucky when you buy an item, or when you go to a market action and you see an item which is really, really cool, but it's like, maybe a heavy armor that would be really good for Alexander, but Delilah took the market action, and one of her options was a heavy set of armor, which reduces mana. Normally, as a spellcaster, you really don't want your mana reduced because of heavy armor. You can equip the heavy armor as a caster, so you can become a battle mage. But generally, that works against you being a caster. But if she has access to it, and either she has the money or Alexander has the money, as long as she has the money to buy it, she could buy it, put it into her backpack, and then take an action, either that turn or another turn, and send it to Alexander. You need one action for sending either an item or a number of items or any amount of gold, and you can do it together, to any other character anywhere else in the world. There's no limit to how far you send it. You're basically just, you're just having a messenger send this over. But for each character you're sending something to, it takes an action. If you're in a 5-player game and you're sending something to the other 4 characters, then you can't do it in one round because it's taking 4 total actions to send whatever to 4 different characters. You would only be able to send to 3 characters in one round, and it would take all your actions. So that's kind of how the items work with going to, the market, and how it works with taking an action to send, which is actually not on this list, which is one of the things that needs to be added to this list. It is not part of the equip action. Equip is switching out between backpack and your character, whatever items you want to. Also spells. Also, if you're a caster, like she starts out with the one spell already in her memory. If she ever takes it out of her memory to switch spells, it automatically goes into a spell book. Once you either put a spell in the spell book or memory, you cannot sell it after that. It's either in your book or in your memory. Until you do that, you can sell and trade and send spells to either sell it back to a market if you get one in the treasure and you don't need it, or nobody really wants it. You can sell it. Like I said, you can send it to another person if somebody else would like it. But once it's put into memory, you cannot sell it or send it to another player. Okay? So equip covers a lot of things you can do, and you only spend one equip action to do everything. Doesn't matter if it's items or if it's spells. The tag action is where you tax your people. They don't like it when you take extra money from them, so they're not going to reward you with fame because they're unhappy. But you do get the money that you would normally get up here in the revenue phase, but you just don't get the fame. But you can only do that once per turn. Now, there is a Blessing of the Gods card in the events that allows you to tax a second time in a turn. So there is a possibility of getting that option in the game, but it is rare. Sometimes it comes up, sometimes it doesn't. Then upgrade and building is the last action. And basically what that is either building one of your settlement hexes, the town, the cities, or the keeps. In fact, these two are in the wrong spot. So cities and then keeps. And then also building one of your improvements. Doesn't matter which one. Now, you can only do one of these a turn. And what I mean by that is that, let's say Red wants to build a town there. He builds a town there. He cannot build a second town over here in the same turn, even if he has the actions to do it, because he just built this one. So you can only build one of each type. And that doesn't mean well, you can build a town, but you have to have a town built in order to either build a city or keep. And what happens is when you have the town built, and you can do this with your starting hometown as well if you'd like, but you could build this in one turn and as another action, upgrade it to a city. But you can only upgrade one. Like you can't upgrade that one, and let's say his hometown, he wanted to turn into a keep. Okay, he would not be able to upgrade this because he upgraded this one over here. So you can only upgrade once. And you have to build the town first, but then a town upgrades into either a city or a keep. Now, once you upgrade it to a city, if later on you decided, oh, I would really want that to be my keep, what you would have to do is you would have to destroy the keep, get nothing back in return, and then build the town and then upgrade it to the keep. Okay? It's a difficult and expensive way to go. So in other words, you need to plan your building throughout the world. And the more people that there are, it's kind of better for people to discuss and work together, since this is a cooperative game. And it works out much better. Works out much better for everybody. You know, you don't get upset at your fellow player for doing something that you wanted to do somewhere else. You know, real estate can become prime here. And the thing is, okay, you could not build a town where there is not a neutral town hex until all these other neutral town hexes have been built by somebody. Okay? Once they have been built, then you could build over here if you wanted. Might be kind of dangerous right next to the spawn, but you could build, you know, anywhere. You can build there. You could build next to the Capitol if you wanted to, but it hurts the possibility of winning because you need spaces around the Capitol open to build all the improvements and other Capitol hexes. But you can build anywhere that you could normally build a hex. Okay? So, that is basically the list of actions that you can do. So, we're going to start the action phase of this turn by, we're going to say green wants to engage a dragon. So, they're on young dragons, so they get a base movement of 3. 1, 2, 3. Direction does not matter for players or their tamed dragons. It only affects the evil dragons because of the way the AI moves them around the board, which has become the best way I can figure out of a card system to move pieces in a good manner. That kind of makes sense, okay? So one of his actions, Green's actions, was to move, and he wants to tame that dragon. Tame dragons are very, very useful. They've found out in the game, especially when they have to encounter the elder dragons later on. Having their tame dragons fight for them is a much better option unless they are really outfitted with both items and feats to be able to take on adult dragons. And you can fight the adult dragons together as a group, which is something we'll show a little bit later on. We won't be showing that early. Whenever you have young dragons that are not in a swarm, you have to fight them alone because people see that as a dishonorable thing of dragon lords, and even the dragon lords themselves see them dishonoring themselves and their reputation for not fighting a young dragon, even though they can be threatening in the beginning. But especially once they gain experience, they're not supposed to be afraid of young dragons at all. But his second action is to tame. So he's going to be trying to tame that black dragon. And then his third action is going to, we will have him build. And we will go to this reference card, which is the cost guide. Okay, and here we will see, okay, the only thing he can really build right here, because I want to show a little bit of everything. He's going to build a farm. He can only build one farm because you're only limited to one of a certain one per turn. So that's the farm improvement. And it has to be adjacent to one of the settlement hexes that he owns. and a farm cannot be built in a mountain. Hard to grow things on rocky terrain. And if you were to build on a swamp hex, okay, anything you build on there costs you double. Of course, mines can only be built in mountains, so that's the one thing that you're not going to be building in a swamp would be a mine. You can't mine a swamp. Doesn't work out very good. Okay? But that was his green's 3 actions. He moved. He's going to try and tame, which is going to require fighting it, but he's fighting it to tame it. He's not trying to kill it. He's trying to turn it to good. The dragon's still going to try and hurt him while he's trying to tame the dragon. But the fighting is done exactly the same way. Okay, and then he built the farm so that when he, every time he gets the revenue phase or the take attack action, he'll get extra gold from his farms. So red, okay, red's gonna do kind of sort of the same thing, but he's gonna move 3 to here to this black dragon. Okay, but he is not going to tame his dragon. Normally, almost everybody would want to try and tame that dragon, especially early on in the game. Getting as many tame dragons really helps you to be able to succeed in the game. But for purposes of showing you things, he's just going to end his movement there. If that dragon has any kind of movement, the dragon stays there and they will engage each other. The only reason why the dragon would not stay there is that if there is a black rampage card or a straight up rampage card, which means the dragon is not held there by the player or by anything else that may be on. Rampage, no matter what it is, color or colorless, means that the dragon is really, really pissed off and all it wants to do is make its way to the capital, best possible route, and destroy. Okay, so red's first action is to move, not going to tame. So he is then going to tax. So he taxes, oops, that's fame. My bad. And he gets that 20 gold, but he doesn't get the fame. Okay. And then what he is going to do, okay, he is going to build a mine. So he spends 25 gold, takes his little mine thing, puts it on the mountain. So his actions are to move, to tax, and then build the mine. Okay? And that's 3 actions for each player in a 2-player game. Normally, it would take a lot quicker to do that, but explaining everything and the little things that may go along with it does take longer time. And we do want to try and get through at least turn 1. Okay, so we then go from the action phase, which is the player's action phase. Now the dragon phase. The dragon phase is basically a turn the dragons get to take. which that's where you go to the dragon action cards. And you take one over. You turn it over, and it's going to tell you the information, a primary and a secondary dragons. In this case, Green Dragon Rampage. Okay, so you look for any green dragons on the board, which we have a blue. We know we have a black under each player, because right now, 2-player game, there's only going to be 4 dragons on the board, all young, and then a red. So a Green Dragon Rampage, since there are no green dragons on the board whatsoever, you just ignore that. But the primary has to be done, should be done first. Then you go to the secondary. Okay, the secondary is a blue dragon growth. Well, we are in tier 1. We are turn 1, tier 1. Okay, which means only young dragons can spawn. Okay, so a blue dragon growth, because there is one blue dragon on the board, he cannot grow because of the limitations in the game. If he was to grow to a adult dragon on turn 1 like this, more than likely the players would pretty much lose. And that would happen all too frequently. So right now, for the time being, unless we see it changing, which anything is possible with the way the rules are and the situations we come across. Okay, now what you would do instead of growing him is that you are going to spawn a blue dragon. Secondary, you would use these set of numbers to tell you where a young blue dragon is going to spawn. It's going to spawn Mountain 1, Direction 6. So we find Mountain 1, which is way over here, and then Direction 6. So you see the direction over here. You reference it. Some people can catch on to that and know direction a lot better than others and a lot quicker. But that's why there are 3 of these to place around the board. So as people sitting in different places, they can easily tell, and everybody can help out with the movement. More people that help out, especially when there are more dragons, the quicker the game will play, and it won't play as slow. If you only have one person doing all the dragons, later on it can be rather hectic for one person. Okay, now and unlike the setup, that blue dragon that spawned does not get a free move. The one free move forward only happens during the board setup. Okay, so he just spawns there in that mountain, and that's where he's sitting and happy for this time. Now, you're not done with this card yet, even though you think you might have done everything on here. Is that any color that is not listed on here is going to get a move. And later on, when we get different cards, I'll explain to you the movement when it comes to primary and secondary. Any dragon that is not listed on this card and they get their move forward is they get a free turn. Okay, so red dragons, the closest object to this dragon is this player. Okay, there is a priority system as to if multiple things are closer to a dragon, which one does it go to? There's a priority system we will talk about later. Right now, the first thing, if there's only one thing, whether it had been this settlement, if it could have been the capital. Okay, the closest thing is this player, even though there's another dragon there. Well, its free move is to turn in the direction of whatever's closest. Okay? If the closest thing was this town hex here, if this player was not there, okay, the dragon can't turn directly towards it. So in that case there, whenever you have a situation like that, players get to choose what direction it's going to face. Here, it has a direct beeline to that player. So it's going to turn a free turn towards the player. Then it's going to move its one space for being a young dragon forward. And that's where it's going to end its turn. If it had ended its turn on top of the player, that dragon would not be fighting this turn. The dragon has to have movement left over, or if it moved with a rampage card. If it moves with a rampage card, then it can attack. It has no restrictions on not attacking when it finishes its move. But since this is normal move, it does not attack if it had landed on a player. But it lands in the middle of nowhere, so that's where that dragon is. So only one dragon moved, because 2 out of the 4 dragons people were on. The blue dragon is just wandering around in that hex right there, facing the same direction. But a blue dragon had spawned. Another young blue dragon. So technically now we have 5 dragons on the board. Okay. So now that finishes that card. So any dragon not listed on this card is going to turn towards the closest objective that the evil dragons have, which are players, settlements, the capital. They don't turn towards other evil dragons. But they also will turn towards the players' tame dragons. Tame dragons are also an objective for them. Okay? But anything listed on here, they will actually, if they had movement, which one is rampage, one is growth, so there's no movement there for them. Okay? Since no greens are on the board. Okay? If there was a movement diagram on there, like this card has, you can see the movement diagram. Primary usually has an extra move. Secondaries have only one additional move. And then everything else only has one move. The free turn and then a move. But both the primary and the secondary, they turn towards the capital. They're trying to get there. They're not getting enraged and pissed off and trying to get there in a hurry, but they are trying to get to the objective the evil dragons have. So that's kind of how the AI works on these cards. And it actually works very, very, very well. It's the best arrangement that I have found on these cards that gets the dragons to do what they're supposed to do in this game. Okay? So, that's the dragon phase. Now we go to the fight phase. Normally in the fight phase, the way we've been doing it, and the way it will probably be listed in the rules, generally the players, my main 2 testers, thank you very much, by the way, if you're watching this, they generally now, and I like the order that they do it in, is they will do the fights between their tame dragons and evil dragons and settlements, whether it's one of their settlements or a neutral settlement or even the capital. They will do them first to get them out of the way. Unless you're dealing with a swarm, which has special fight mechanics, which make them the nastiest pieces in the nastiest evil dragons in this version of the game. They will do them first, get them out of the way, and then they will do their player fights. Okay, so because I have Alexander here on the left, I'm going to count him as being first player. It doesn't really matter how you do the fights, what order you do them, but it's really fair to everybody, honestly, if you decide what order you do them in. And there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. The way they've been doing it right now, which works really well and does keep an order about things, is that they will do their fights in the order of the players, but they do them one round at a time. And you'll see how the fighting works now. So here we have the Young Dragon Battle Deck. These are the cards or the deck of cards that the young dragons use to fight with. Now, they are also used in both adults, they'll be used in elders, and they will actually also be used in ancients. But they're used in different ways in those other battles. Here, they're just used straight up. So what I will do is I'm going to draw Alexander's 5 cards for his hand. So basically, his hand is what he's going to have to work with. Okay? He's got 1 deflect, which means if there's a really nasty attack and he uses that card, he just bats the attack off, no matter what it is, no matter how big or small, whatever. Okay? He has 1 card that has a special on it. And then 2 that have none. But this is even though the card's a little bit worn, so those little dots right there are actually supposed to be white squares. It's just really bad wearing on this type of a manufactured card. I don't like it, so I'll manufacture them different or have them manufactured different next time. It was just a trial to see how well it is. It's a nice feeling and looking card, but the wearing is absolutely terrible. Because you can see here, those little dots, that's a lot of the wearing that's happening on the card itself. Anyway, this is basically a 1-4. 1 dice attack, 4 dice defense. 1 dice attack, 3 dice defense. Okay, another 1-4, and then a 2-2 with a special, which is probably his best card out of his starter cards for trying to kill something. He's more of a defensive player, so you'll see on his cards a lot more defense die than attack die. Okay, but that's what makes him the tank. So what you do, and he's just fighting it, so he's basically fighting it to kill it. So we will use this middle reference card. In fact, we'll move this out of the way for a minute. And we will flip over the dragon's first attack. This is a young dragon. Young dragon base has, let's try and get some of that glare out of there. The Young Dragon's base attack is 1 card, unless the special ability gives him either an additional card or an additional attack. And it also could be a breath weapon. Okay? But this is just a 2/1. Nothing special about it. And what that means, very basic, very simple. Its attack is rolling 2 dice to try and put damage through to Alexander. His defense is the second number, and the dragon gets 1 die for defense. So as Alexander, I'm going to choose to roll, because I want to try and beat this guy. I don't want to drag this fight out. So I think the best bet is to do the 2/2, which is 2 dice each, and then to remember that the blessing card is going to give all players 1 extra white die. So that's going to make it a 3/2. Okay. Now I'm pretty happy right now with, I think, the 2 die, but Alexander's card gives him a special. Okay. The buckler here, the only thing the buckler would do if I wanted to, and I really don't need it in this situation, is that you can exhaust the card by tapping it, okay, to deflect that attack in the same way you would use this card to deflect the attack. That's what the buckler actually does, okay? And you can have the buckler equipped. It doesn't technically take a slot, okay? So you can use it while you're equipped with a weapon, okay? And, okay, since his shield is not tapped, the first part of his special ability is not needed, okay? And then the second part allows him to re-roll the same color and any number of defense die that is on his equipped shield. Well, there's no defense die on this shield because it's only a buckler. The buckler is only for trying to swat attacks out of the way. Okay? So, neither one of those special abilities are useful in this situation. But there is the basic default ability of adding 1 white die to either your attack or to your defense, no matter who you are. So no matter what, a special ability will always have a bonus for you. Some of these abilities are more niche than others. So I'm actually going to take it and use it for the defense because the white dice are so swingy. Because there's a 33% chance on each white die that you're going to get a blank. And we've seen as many as 8 and 9 dice rolled and get almost all blanks. I think maybe somebody has done it one time. They rolled that many and got all blanks. So white dice are very swingy. Weakest of the dice. Okay? So the dragon's attack, it rolls, gets 1 light hit and a blank. So we'll remove the blank die. His defense, we roll his defense. His defense is a white die. So that dragon is just trying to snap at him. He has no defense. So the way you beat it in a round, whether you are trying to kill it or actually trying to tame it, because that exact same way, okay, you have to do more damage to it than it's doing to you. If you do, then you have beaten it. If not, anything else is basically a draw. If you run out of cards in your hand and also in your actual battle deck, okay, then you become exhausted. And if you become exhausted, then you basically respawn at either your hometown or the capital. And it's your choice as to where you respawn. Both can have benefits. So, Dragon's only done one. So, Alexander's going to win if he rolls any more than basically one green dot, one light hit. He's got to do more than one damage, and he will win. Okay, so he rolls 2 blank. As we said, white dice can be swingy. But the fight is not over. Right now, the fight is a draw because this has not been rolled yet. So right now, they are doing 1 damage to each. So that's a pretty even fight right there. But Alexander's got 3 dice to roll for defense. So unless he rolls all blanks, and yes, it is very possible. This has happened all too frequently. He will win if he rolls something other than all 3 blanks. If all 3 come up as a blank, he will tie. And he will lose a card on top of the card that he has played here. Because once you play a card, after that round, it goes into your discard pile. So, he rolls his defense. And he rolls really good. He rolled far better than what he needed. So his defense was actually, he would have protected up to 4 damage without taking anything. So if you remove those 2 dice, which is what they do a lot, then they compare what they have left, and dragon, the evil dragon has done no damage because Alexander has protected himself, and he has done 1 damage to that dragon. So that dragon is dead. So, since he was not taming, and it was a fight, he has killed that dragon. But what he has also done is he gains, we'll just flip this over here. He actually gains 2 fame for killing a young dragon. Whether you kill a young dragon or you tame a young dragon, you get 2 fame. So if Delilah can tame that black dragon, she will get, that black dragon there will become a tame dragon that she controls. She also gains 2 fame like Alexander gained for killing his. But even though Alexander fought and he doesn't get a tame dragon, he gets a treasure card. You flip the treasure card over and you apply whatever treasure depending on whatever dragon you fought. In the campaign game, if you are fighting a ancient dragons have no treasure. They just want to destroy the entire land. Although they will slowly head to the capital, they want to destroy everything. They don't give a crap about treasure. They're just evil upon the ultimate evil of the land. So here you were fighting, Red was fighting a young, so he's going to gain 25 gold pieces and a town item. So, takes the town item, 1 town item, goes in his backpack. It's very fortunate for him because he starts with the shield. So, the item he gets goes into his backpack. Okay, next turn he can equip that. The card that he played goes into a discard pile. Okay. He did not take any damage, but he can draw up to his hand size, because that was basically the end of his battle. Okay. Now, we will draw Delilah's hand. Okay, she's got a deflect, a dispel, a special, and another. Oh, 3 specials. Okay. That's a pretty good draw for her. That's very good. She's got 1 deflect if it's a nasty attack. 3 specials, and then also a dispel. A dispel is used for 2 different things. One is if a dragon goes to heal itself. Okay, these young all the dragons have a magical ability to heal. So in order to stop the heal, you have to dispel it in some way. There are items that do it, spells. Being that she has a card that says dispel, and again, that's the white dot is not a minus sign. It's a dispel with a 1 white die. That means she basically gets a free dispel, even if she does not have the dispel spell. If she had the dispel spell and cast it, she could add that white die to whatever the dispel is. But she does not have one right now, so we'll flip over the dragons card. Dragons are being kind of nice today. We've seen much worse early on in the games. Trust us. Young Dragon pulls out a 2/2 with nothing special. Okay. So, again, I'm going to play her fighting to really try and beat it. I'm not going to try and pussyfoot around with these dragons. I've seen bad outcomes. So she's going to play this card. But she's a caster. So she has a spell for Arcane Bolt. Okay? It costs her, since it's in memory, come on, focus. It costs 2 mana, the first number, to cast a spell. It's going to add 1 white die to her attack. Okay, this applies to 1 attack. Can be cast multiple times. So she's going to spend 2 mana. Okay, so she will get a additional die for the spell being cast. She casts the Arcane Bolt along with this attack. If you cast a spell, you can't use a weapon with that same attack. If you use a weapon, you can't cast a spell with the weapon. Unless there's a special ability that allows you to do so. Okay, but so far, we have a 3, 2 from the card, 1 from the spell, a 3/1 against a 2/2. Okay, but we still have the special. Okay, and in this case, her special ability. When casting a spell, upgrade a white die to a blue die. Or, when dispelling, you can add 1 white die per tier she has to 1 dispel attempt. Which against youngs are usually, as long as you roll a success, at least 1 green dot on your dice, you dispel a effect. Okay, but in this case, upgrading the white die from the spell to a blue die is going to be far more powerful. So she is going to be rolling this 2 from the card, 1 from the spell, and then upgrading the spell from the special. Okay, and then her defense is only 1 white die. Weak defense, strong attack because of that blue die. Okay, which she is basically the glass cannon of magic. There's a character called Shang Wang. He is the glass cannon of melee. He does a lot of the same thing, but his defense is like terrible. But he makes up for it with hitting harder. Okay, so get on with this. 2 white die for the attack. 2 white die for defense. There's all the dice pools for this attack. Pretty much that simple. All you're doing is adding up all your dice from your attack cards, from abilities, if you have feats that apply, and also, oh yeah, almost forgot, she also gets as well, doesn't matter if she's using a spell or not, she gets the additional white die from the blessing card. So actually, she is rolling 3 white and 1 blue. So the dragon rolls its attack. Doesn't matter what order you really roll these in. Okay. Its attack is 3. It's a little bit more fierce than the last one. Its defense, ooh. That is like the best roll you can do on white die. Okay, so just I want to see on defense first how this is going to be. She actually does really good on defense. The best she can do on defense. So defense-wise, she's protecting against 3. Because the green is 1 damage. The heavy hit, the gold star, is 1 hit and 1 damage. Or one hit and 1 crit. Okay, so that's actually 2 damage plus 1 crit damage. 1 from the green and 1 damage and 1 crit from the gold star. So in this case, these would actually even out. The dragon's attack is 3 damage, and she does protect against 3 damage. If one of these was a crit on the dragon, and all she had, and let's say just if she had more dice and she had 3 damage, okay, actually the other way around. If it was the other way around, okay, there's a good example. This is 3 damage, but one of them is crit. This is 3 damage, but there are no crits. So one of these damage cannot stop the crit. That means the dragon would have won. Because it would have gotten, or it would have beaten her defense, would have gotten 1 crit through. Excuse me. Crits are very powerful, so the more you roll, the luckier you are. But anyway, dragon's attack, her defense, cancel out. So right now, she is not taking anything, but the dragon has a really good defense. Okay, that's 2 crit and 2 hits, or two light hits and 2 heavy hits. So technically, if you add up the damage and the crit damage, you are looking at, okay, let's set this up, make it a little bit more easy. So that's 1 damage, that's 2 damage. There's 1 damage from this, there's another damage from there, so that's 4 regular damage. Then you got 1 crit damage here and 1 crit damage there. So it's a total of 6 damage. But you count it as 2 crits and 4 damage. Okay. So, okay. So, because of what she rolled, she can only stop one of these crits. Okay? So, if you take the crit away, or let's take that whole dice away, okay? So we take this dice away. We take this dice away, and we take her dice away. Let's put them closer so we can see what we're doing. Okay? We took those 2 dice away from each of the dice pools. So this is what we have left. This is a blank. She has no rerolls. Okay? This is her attack. This is its defense. So take the 1 dot there, which actually is the lowest she could have rolled there. Okay? Which means, and just for the purposes, because we need to do it, if we take the 1 blue damage away from up there, that leaves 1 crit there. And move the 1 single damage over there. So now this is what you're comparing. Okay? So she has 1 damage left, and the crit can stop that damage. So, yeah, that dragon's defense was pretty big. Even though she had the biggest defense she had, she still couldn't get through its defense. Okay, so the dragon's card is discarded because that was that round. Her card goes into her discard pile over there. She has to draw up to her hand size, and then she decides if she wants to, since it was a draw, she didn't take any damage. She decides if she wants to run away or continue fighting. And even though the other player defeated it in 1 round, you completely fight the battle before going on to the next phase. Every battle is finished. No battles continue over. Okay, so we drew up to her hand size, which everybody has a hand size of 5 right now. The next dragon's card. And this is where the healing comes into play. Has a healing because healing is basically magical. Dragons get that's about the smallest healing that I believe that there is on the dragon's cards. So even 1 blue dice is fairly powerful. So this could be a bit of a tough one. But looking at what she has to play here, because these 2 cards are the same, I could technically use a deflect and get rid of the attack. The healing would not make any difference then, because it's not doing damage to her. Technically, it would still go off, but she's just batting the attack away. So we're not going to worry about the deflect. Better left for bigger hits. Okay. Both of these have a special, which I could try and power my way like I did the last one, but both of them have a defense of 0. So I'd be getting no defense. So what I'm going to decide to do is then use one of these. Okay? So, set up the cards first, just to kind of show you. Attack, defense, heal. Attack, defense, and then dispel. Okay. But I'm going to spend her last 2 mana. She's going to cast a spell, add a white die. And you have to do this before rolling any dice. You have no idea whether you're going to dispel that or not. So you have to make all your decisions before rolling any dice. And there is, in all cases, you have to set up your dice, but there is when it comes to dispelling or like the healing, and then with breath weapons, you cannot dispel a breath weapon because the breath weapons here are not magical. But there are ways of trying to stop breath weapons. Both with spells, and one character actually has a special ability that allows her to try and do that. So, but remembering back up here, every attack, all heroes get one white die added to their attack. So her card, her spell, her bonus from the blessing, her card for the dispel. Now, dice pools are set. The first thing to do is roll this dispel die to see if she can dispel that heal. Okay? Which, since she's trying to dispel a magic ability from a young dragon, all she needs to do is get any successes. So she has a 33% chance of getting a blank. You've already seen that blanks, yes, do come up, and usually in some of the most awkward situations. So, we are dispelling? No, we are not dispelling. Blank die. So, this heal is going to be going off, which is kind of bad news. Okay, so that heal stays there. If I dispelled, I would just remove this die. Okay, so the dragon's attack. Roll that. Dragon's doing 1 point. It's defense. Ooh, this is going to be bad. Okay. Now, you can do this kind of in any order. I'm going to go ahead and do everything on the dragon first to see how bad this is going to be. Okay, it's only heal, which is really good because that's the lowest I can roll. It's only 1 point. So this is actually much better than I would have thought. So I'm going to do its defense first to see if she can block what's coming in, which is only 1 point. And no. So no matter what, she is going to take a point of damage. So she takes she takes top card from her battle deck, puts it into a discard pile. Okay. So now, okay, so that die on the dragon is taken care of, but we have to keep account of that. Delilah is going to need to beat the crit and the hit. Okay, so that's 2 damage plus 1 crit. And even if she rolls it, if she was to roll 2 crits or 2 heavy hits, right? I forget which combination it is, because healing is done basically after you figure out the total. We'll show you how it's done. So we roll her attack, which this actually we remove the blank die. Okay. So her attack is the same right there with these 2 dice, are going to cancel each other out. Okay. And then her 1 damage that's left over is going to get healed by this one here. So she gets nothing through, but she took 1 damage. So, Dragon's card is put there. Her card she used is put in her discard. She draws up to her hand size, and that dragon there is not yet defeated. If she defeats it, she will gain it as a tame dragon. If not, she has to respawn back at her hometown. So then she decides if she wants to fight again. Yes, we're going to fight again. So this time we get a 3-0 or a 3-0. So it has no defense, but it's a little bit of a mean dragon. No special ability, thank God. So the card she drew actually has the ability to allow her to channel. So, being that this is a 1-3, I actually kind of like this card. Now, right now, she used up all her mana. Okay? If she plays this card, the one with the channel on it, the channel happens during combat. Okay? So she will not have that mana from that blue die available until next round. So she has no mana to cast a spell. So she has 1 die from the card, 3 die from her defense. And this is not a bad sort of kind of a trade-off. I mean, right there, okay, her defense die equal the dragon's attack die, exactly, right now. But she has 1 attack die. So even though her attack die is less than the dragon's attack die, the fact that she has defense, dragon doesn't, kind of gives the odds in her favor. But white dice are very, very swingy. So anything can happen here. But we go back. Blessing of the gods. The gods are favoring characters for fighting or taming, how you look at it. So she gets a little bit of an advantage, more than what she had before, because now she has 2 dice to attack. So dragons attack, see if the dragon whips out, and the dragon's got 2 damage. 2 light hits gives 2 damage. So let's do her defense first. See if she can kick up her defense here. And her defense, she rolls really, really good. So right now, her two die from here are going to cancel out these 2 die because they're 1 each. Each one is 2 damage. Now this extra defense means nothing. Just means that she rolled really good. Wish we could save it for later, but no. So now, winning this round is going to come down to her getting at least 1 hit on one of these white die. And anything is possible. And she does it in fine fashion. But she has defeated that dragon. But she still has a channel, a blue die channel. So she rolls the blue die. She scores 2 light hits, which sometimes you're rolling dice to score successes. And the only thing a crit means is that a single crit is going to give you 2 successes. Basically, for each single damage you do, you get a success. So 1 crit does 1 damage plus 1 crit damage, which in the long run comes out to 2 damage. But here, 2 light hits, 2 damage. She will gain back 2 mana. That's one way of a mage gaining back mana. Okay, so her card goes in discard pile. She took no more damage. So We'll put her card there, and we will draw up to her hand size just to have it ready. Sometimes, I mean, you can actually wait to draw up your hand size to the battle of your start of your next battle, but if you do it at the end of each round of fighting, especially the last round, then you're all ready to fight next turn. Okay? And then the Dragons cards, just go back to wherever you keep them. I will be showing you trays later, which I'm working on developing, basically as part of the whole Kickstarter thing, assuming it goes there one day. So, the black dragon that she was taming comes back over to here, and actually, Alexander killed his. So this is a way that one of the players had started to do it, which is a really good way, and this will be put into the rules. So thank you to who developed this. This was not from me. And another reason why we have playtesters. They come up with things that even the best designers don't think of. So if when you fight one and you defeat it, you put it here in front of whoever's going to be spawning the dragons, the best way really to do it, or wherever the players want to do it. If a player kills one, you put it with the pointing up, arrow pointing up. Anything else is pointed down. Whether your player is taming a dragon, if a settlement has killed a dragon, or if one of your tamed dragons has killed a dragon. You put the dragon that it killed facing down. And then the next phase, which we will go to right now, is since dragons were eliminated from the board, okay, and none of them were in a swarm, which is special rules, you draw, since we have this one here, since it's killed, since it's pointing up, spawns 2 dragons. So you draw 1 card. Okay, red dragon at mountain 5, direction 6. So, red dragon, mountain 5, direction 6. Ooh, red dragons are mounting up. And then you have a white dragon at mountain 2, direction 3. So, white dragon, ooh, mountain 2, direction 3. And, of course, they do not move. Okay, so this black dragon has been taken care of. You put him back in the dragon pool. Then, the next one only spawns 1. If the first one had only spawned 1, then you go to the next card, whether you're spawning 2 on this next one or just 1. For each one that is killed or tamed in whatever way, you're drawing a card for. And then you're spawning on the card a number of dragons depending on whether or not a player killed it. Okay, so this one's only going to spawn 1 dragon. It's going to spawn, okay, a black dragon. So we're just going to take that one there. It's the only one left to spawn. And this is going to be, again, now this is just coincidence. These AI cards are very, very balanced. Each colored dragon does favor a certain mountain a little bit more than the other ones, but each color favors a different mountain. It's not like multiple colors are going to favor mountain 5. Okay? And also, sometimes you're only spawning off of the primary, and sometimes you're doing primary and secondary, so you can actually miss some of the mountains on secondary. Kind of odd way of looking at it, but it is very, very balanced, actually. Even though her remaining cards put back over here in the discard. Sorry for that cutting out. I don't know why I did that. It's kind of funky. But anyway, that is the that part of the turn end of turn phase where the heroes automatically heal. And then you have untap all items except potions one step. When we get into tapping and untapping later on, that'll be explained more fully. But and anything that is anything that is tapped, generally you just untap it, but it does go a little bit deeper than that. Okay, then you apply any turn effects, which now this is where this comes in. Turn effects. It's got to be labeled a little bit better, but the end of turn one, and each turn through this tier, you're going to add 1 stamina, okay, which means that you basically right now on the very first turn, you're going to take one of your tier 1 cards. You're going to add it to your battle deck. And so will she add it to her battle deck. So each turn, your battle deck is actually going to grow by 1 card overall until you get later on when you can actually start adding the tier 2 cards to your deck. But that's the apply end of turn effects. Then you, after all that's done, you move to the next turn. You move the tracker to the next turn. And then the very last thing that is done is any potions that are tapped have to be discarded. Nobody has any potions. You'll see how that works. Potions are meant to be a one-use item. Okay. But they're basic. One of the characters in the game is actually a witch, which she is the one that can actually untap potions as a passive ability. It helps her out greatly, and during battle, if she's grouped up with other characters, which I'll probably try and show that later on, and I'll try not to win the game too early, even if it's possible, just to be able to show you characters fighting a adult dragon together. And that's when that would really come into play. But we're not using her in this game. We got Alexander and Delilah. So in this game, it would not come into play. But that's the very last thing to do at the end of turn phase, which means the first turn is completely over. Everything's been done. So, that is, oh yes. And then also she finally did tame the dragon. So she does get the 2 fame. Almost forgot about doing that. She gets no treasure card though, because she tamed the dragon, but, which I also have to do, okay, the dragon that she tamed, now you can do it either way. If you only have like 1 tamed dragon on the board, you can use that one for the picture if you like. And that just signifies that that's the green player with that green dragon. Color doesn't make any difference for a player. Okay, or you can use this one, especially when you get multiple dragons, because you're also going to come over here, because she had tamed a dragon, and she gets the number 2, young dragon, and number 2. It's a way of keeping track of which one of your dragons here are what age categories. Because as you go through the game, you have the opportunity to raise the age of your tame dragons and also the dragon that you ride on. So, this is the end of this part. I will do more parts of this to show deeper into the game, to show more of the things you can do. So the next time you see the next part of this mini-series, it will actually be turn 2. Probably take almost as long because I will explain slowly. And I'm also going to try and do different things to show you early on all the things and how everything works. So I thank you for watching. If you've sat through this, basically all the turns are pretty much going to go the same way. And by watching more parts of this and doing the succession turns, showing you guys, all the way through here until see what happens with these two characters. You can actually see over time how this dragon AI works, considering that it is just done with these cards set up just like this. I wouldn't have even thought it was possible. It was very hard in the beginning. When I first came up with this system and I first tested it on my very own, which I'm glad I did it on my own, the testers would have been very, very upset. The dragons basically circled around in one spot. They did not even try and go towards the capital. They didn't even try and go towards a neutral town. They just hovered around the freaking spawn hex. But as I adjusted things, which is all what testing is about, I've refined the rules behind the Dragon AI and the cards. And I think what I have now, at first it seems, I don't know if to you all it seems kind of in-depth. The only thing, the cards are pretty self-explanatory, okay? But without the mechanic of adding that free move to them in the beginning where youngs get one forward, adults get 2, and elders get 3. You can't add it onto the cards, these Dragon AI cards, because of how the dragons change from going from, young to adult. There wouldn't be room on the cards. All the writing would be so small, no one would be able to make it out. It would look crowdy, nasty. And I think just having that mechanic set aside, that if the dragon isn't going on a rampage, or right now growing, although I might change it with growing, I don't know. It might help the dragons a little bit even if they grow, that they move. We'll see. We'll see about that part of it. But right now, this is the way it is. Works really good. It does bring threats to the players, even though at the beginning you might not think it does. If you see this play through, you will see that, yes, the evil dragons are trying to get to the capital. And if they can't get there and they're taking their time, then they're trying to destroy the countryside, which is the whole premise of the game with the evil dragons, is trying to destroy the kingdom. They want to destroy the capital, but they will destroy anything between them and the capital. So, like I said, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next part. Thank you.
stand where the ash winds turn, Dragonlord on the watchtower, with a steady flame that burns. When the evil dragons circle and the black sky starts to crack, we lift our shields together and we never step back. Dragonlord, hold the line, Aurith shines, Aurith shines. Dragonlord, keep us bright, we will guard this land tonight. Dragonlord, raise your flame, drive the evil from our name. Aurith lives, Aurith rises, Aurith lives in our hands. From the red hills to the river, they came hungry for the crown, with their iron teeth and thunder, trying to drag our hope down. But the children lit the lanterns, and the farmers took a vow. Every heart became a fortress, hear us sing it now. Dragonlord, hold the line, Aurith shines, Aurith shines. Dragonlord, keep us bright, we will guard this land tonight. Dragonlord, raise your flame, drive the evil from our name. Aurith lives, Aurith rises, Aurith lives in our hands. If the dark comes close again, we will meet it face to face, with the courage of the mountains and the mercy of this place. No matter